Hey everyone. Sometimes in chess, you sacrifice a certain amount of material for an advantage. Like you sacrifice a bishop to open up the king and the great gift, or sometimes you sacrifice a rook. And it can be very cool and very very romantic. Now, there are also times when you sacrifice material, when you weren't aware that you were giving up some material in order to maintain your advantage here. And that's what happened in this game that I'm about to show you today. I had a completely winning position, and then I sacrificed it wasn't the best move, but I sacrificed. So this is a game I played. I don't know when I played this game, but it wasn't on my Chess Shrimp account. I've just changed the username so that it's universal here. Um, but I played this game. I was rated 1393, and this was a 3-minute game I played in the pool. Not like in the water, but like in the 3-minute chess pool on chess.com. That's the pool I'm talking about. And yeah, so I had the white pieces, and I was already surprised out of the opening here because we got d4 and f5, which is the Dutch defense. And here, there's basically two openings that can be played. We can either go into a mainline Dutch with something like, I don't know, like knight f6, g6, bishop g7, maybe e6 or something like this. But also a slight variation of the Dutch, which is a stonewall with like e6 and d5, and even a pawn storm going this way. And both of those openings are challenging to play if your opponent knows what they're doing, because they're not very common, so you don't have a lot of experience playing them. So we get c4 and e6, and so right now my opponent's keeping the options open between the two of them. So I play knight c3, and looks like we're getting sort of a mainline Dutch kind of position here. The bishop goes out to e7, bishop d3, we get d6. Usually in the stonewall we get d5 and f5 if I'm not mistaken. So this is more of a Dutch defense here, and the chess.com analysis says it's the Rubinstein variation, which I'll choose to believe. So we get knight e2, and we just play a couple of normal moves here. I play a3 to prevent the knight coming to b4, and also maybe to play b4 myself in the future. The bishop goes to d2, castles, and here I play queen c2. And you can already see that my pieces are lined up well towards my opponent's king, but right now the position is pretty solid for black as well, because this pawn is holding everything together. All the same, I have a healthy 0.9 advantage in this game. So what is my game plan here? If you look at the pieces, black doesn't have a ton of space, but wants to strike out with moves like e5 or maybe d5 in the future. Probably the move e5 because it's well supported by this knight. And also to start a pawn storm on this side, because this is probably where I'm going to castle. So I'm going to castle long, and then maybe something like b5 will happen, right? So I got to keep that in mind as well. So, meantime, what is my game plan? I want to open up my bishop and my queen battery to the h7 square. So I want to get the move g4 to happen. So either I play h3 and g4, or I play f3 and g4, or something like that. So the king goes to h8, and now I play h3. The queen goes to e8, and now I castle, which I should have just played g4, apparently, according to the computer. But I'm not beating myself up too much for this, and now I play g4. And after taking here, I'm completely winning. So my opponent definitely should not have taken maybe a move like g6, though honestly I don't know how to save this game for black. Already it's quite difficult, because you can't, if you play a move like this, giving up the pawn, it's the same thing, because you're allowing the bishop to get open. But if you take over here, as happened in the game, now not only do my bishop and queen get open, but also my rook gets open after the move pawn takes. Now the rook is also looking down at the king. So now knight takes, and here I had an option between taking with the rook on h7 or taking with the bishop. And I chose to take with the bishop because I thought maybe I have some discoveries with the bishop to maybe hit the queen. I also thought that, taking with the rook here, it allows the king to run away to this side, and then maybe I don't have such a clear angle of attack anymore. Though, actually, in retrospect, it's not at all the case, because I think I can probably just bring another rook here and then chase down the king like this. So, I decide to take with the bishop. The knight goes back, and now you can see that my bishop is actually still defended. So I can sorry, that's not that's a later move actually. Never mind. So I need to move the bishop out of the way so that I can bring this bishop into the game. So I need to trade off this bishop for the knight so that I can bring my rook into the game. So what I play is to move bishop to g6, hitting the queen. The queen slides out, and now I can open up this bishop to hit the knight. So I play the move e4. Yes. So now I block the queen's eyes on the rook over here. I also open up the bishop's scope on the knight. And now my opponent plays the move rook to f6 here, attacking my bishop, so that if I take here, after takes here, it's actually winning for me. I missed the move bishop here, and after rook blocks, I can trade the pair of rooks, and I'm actually winning the bishop on e7 here. And I'm up a piece here. I have a bishop and two knights against a bishop and a knight. So I have an extra knight, and I should be completely winning. However, I missed this sequence, so instead, I played the move e5 here. Again, reopening my queen's defense on the queen, attacking the rook, and if you trade here, then my pawn just recaptures, my rook gets open on this file, and my position's looking very nice. And as you can see, the computer agrees with me that even though the material is equal here, it's plus 8.7. That's a remarkable advantage to have something in a position like this where there's no real clear way in here. Even if I take, just for example, if like say black plays like a random move here, and I take with the rook here, after king here, it's still difficult to find exactly the right moves, because okay, if the king goes here, maybe it's just you can't calculate it all, so it's not a concrete advantage. I think anyone would pick the white pieces here over the black pieces, but that doesn't mean that it's clear cut. So, after e5 here, my opponent chooses to play rook f5, which is an interesting idea here. The idea being just to sacrifice the rook here for the closing of this diagonal here, so my queen is no longer able to look at h7. So what I do is I first trade off the knight here, and then I take here, and then I take this pawn with check. Now the king goes to g7, and here finally we've reached the moment in the game. Some of you may already spot the tactic that is going to lead to the loss of material here, but I play a very seemingly innocuous move. The move is rook to h1, and it actually just blenders a simple tactic with bishop to g5 check here, forking the king and the rook, and after I move the king to b1, bishop takes rook, and I've just lost a full rook. So now I have a piece in a rook, and my opponent has two pieces in a rook, but I do have one pawn in compensation. So I'm just down a piece right now. So how do you proceed in such a position? Now we can notice that my rook is now hanging because its brother, who was defending it, has been removed. Now, so I played the move knight to d5, defending my rook by interposing with the knight, and also bringing the knight closer to the king. And you can see that this knight and this pawn play an important role later in the game. So, now we get a chop in the center, we trade two pawns, and now the move bishop to e6 is played. And here, again, I make a pretty big inaccuracy here. But it's hard to explain why, because after the move knight to g3, the computer claims a draw if the move rook to h8 is played for black. And I can only ask like what kind of a person plays a move like this, because you think you're blundering here on f5, but after this, actually, apparently black is totally fine in this position. With maybe taking on c4 is a little risky here because it seems to be mate over here. But maybe queen to g6 or something, and you're totally fine, apparently. Remarkable. But anyhow, I didn't see that this is a draw, and neither did my opponent, because he played the move rook to f8, and now I have a slight advantage here. But I make another inaccuracy here. I have to play the move queen to d3, continuing to defend and moving my queen over to this side of the board to attack the king. But instead, I choose the wrong approach. I play the move queen to e2, and now once again, it's a draw after bishop takes d5, pawn takes, queen takes d5 here, because the only way for me to maintain any advantage or like keep the draw in position is to play this move e6, which is a very absurd move. Even a move like rook g1 here, seeming very natural, apparently gives black a slight edge. So after this, it would be a complete draw, a totally different game. But here my opponent makes a huge blunder and plays a very bad move. Excuse me. In fact, I don't think anyone rated above 1200 would ever consider this move, so I don't know how my opponent even played this, but he plays the move f4 here, which is just an absurd move because not only does it allow this check, which is the whole point of playing knight to g3, but it actually it gives me so much counterplay, and immediately I punish him with a very nice tactic. I wouldn't say it's quite a brilliant move, but it's given one by the chess.com engine. And here I sacrifice the knight with knight takes f4. And the point is, if you take with the rook, then I take with the knight, and it's a check. I can go here. I don't even have to take there though, because I can also play the move queen to h5 here. And after the king moves here, which is the only square, then I can go here, and this is quickly leading to mate, because if the king goes here, then I have this, and it's very swiftly going to lead to mate. So, knight to f4 is a brilliant move, and here my opponent, instead of taking with the rook, decides to take with the bishop, but he misses what I saw in about 10 seconds of calculation in my last 40 seconds of this blitz game, which is that after queen to h4 check, the king cannot escape this way because of the knight and the pawn securing the f6 square, and so after king to g7, in this position, I can checkmate my opponent with queen to h7. And so we can see that the final deciding square of the game was also the first square that I laid my eyes on in this game, all the way back at the beginning when I lined up all my pieces on c2, d3, and on h1. Anyway, so that was just a nice game there. I wanted to show off this kind of brilliant move I played with knight to f4. It's not hugely brilliant, but it's a nice move to show for sure. And it shows that sometimes you can blow a winning position, here after the move knight to g3, or even after queen to e2, where I'm basically worse because I don't think I would have ever played. I don't think I ever would have played the move e6 here if I was given time to think about it. I would have almost definitely moved the rook, maybe moved the queen up here. Like I would have done something else. But all that's to say, you can always save a position as long as you play dynamically and keep your eyes open for tactics. So do your puzzles, and happy chessing. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.